The first day of spring training went down, and Buster Posey says they are, quote, happy with the roster that the Giants have. Does that mean they're done making moves? Let's talk about it right here on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Sowles. Welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, thanks to you, the #1 sports podcast network. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay, but I live in Sacramento now, and I host a show on Sacktown Sports 1140, as well as emceeing Sacramento Rivercast games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, we are discussing Buster Posey's comments saying that the team is, quote, happy with the roster that they have, or I should say the organization is happy with the roster that they have, why they decided to go with Luis Arraez and what that means for the young infielders on this squad. And last but not least, Tony Vitello speaks to the media to kick off pitchers and catchers reporting and spring training. So let's get right on into it. Buster Posey says we are happy with the roster we have. He did some media availability as things kicked off, and here are some of the full quotes. Buster Posey on whether the Giants will continue to look to add to the roster during spring training. Quote, we're probably more in the listen mode at this point. We'll listen and weigh what makes sense, but we're happy with the roster that we have. Buster Posey on the bullpen. Bullpens are hard to predict, good or bad. We're hopeful that some of these guys who are on the fringe and maybe some of our bullpen pieces who are trying to bounce back can seize that opportunity. I will say it seems like the theme of this season for the Giants 2026 is hope. A lot of hope everywhere. They hope that the bullpen works out. They hope that the starting pitchers that they added can continue to pitch well and stay healthy. They hope that Luis Arraez will be better at second base. They hope that Bryce Eldridge will be ready for the big leagues. They hope that Jung-Hoo Lee will be better in right field. They hope that Elliot Ramos will be better in left field and on the base paths. And they hope that Tony Vitello will make the jump from college coach to manager of a Major League Baseball team. It's a lot of hope, a lot of hope, a lot of ifs. That's what I'm getting from the Giants. Now, some of these hopes that they have, they will work out for the Giants. I don't know if all of them will, but some of them will. And will that be enough for them to make the playoffs? We'll have to wait and see. The one thing, as we kind of discuss whether or not the Giants are done, I mean, basically, Buster is saying we're done. And I will say this, since I started off a bit cynical, I will say this. To me, it sounds like we're done, ... for now. One thing that we have learned from the Giants is that they're not shy when it comes to making trades within the season, especially under Buster Posey. That's how they got Rafi Devers. So some of the names that have been brought up before, if the Cubs find themselves in a different position than they previously were with Nico Horner, and that price tag changes a bit. I know they have Luis Arraez now, but some of these guys that have been brought up before, depending on how the season goes, the Giants have shown that they will be active before the trade deadline for Major League Baseball, and they will make moves when they can, even if they didn't make as many moves as we would have liked to see during the offseason. That also goes for the pitching, right? If Tyler Mahle or Adrian Hauser, if one of them don't work out, or if the young guys just can't figure it out, whether that's Carson Whisenhunt or Hayden Birdsong, the Giants have shown that they will pivot. Now, it would be nice to not put yourself in a bad position like that, but it feels like maybe the market was a little bit too rich for the Giants' blood early on when it comes to trades. So they feel as if they can revisit some of this stuff later in the season if necessary. Maybe it's not necessary. Maybe all those hopes that I brought up will come to fruition and you won't need to do any of that. So, the fact that we're here now, the free agent stuff, it is what it is. I think I've kind of come to be at peace with it because the players are gone now, right? When it comes to trades, I think there's always going to be conversations that can be had up until, the trade deadline passes. So those are conversations that I will hold the Giants to a certain standard based on how the season goes. But at this point in time, okay, Giants, you've tried to convince us that you've done enough this season. Let's see what happens, right? Let's see if the additions that you made will be enough to compete and contend at a level that Buster Posey continues to tell us time and time again he wants to contend at. That's where we're at this point in time. I don't want to complain about things that either did or didn't happen at this moment in time. I'm excited. I'm ready for spring training to get going. I'm ready to see what some of these young guys can do. I'm ready to see what the new additions can do. And we just cross our fingers and go from there. That doesn't mean that I am happy with what happened over the offseason, but it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here continuing to complain as the season is about to kick off and, pitchers and catchers are reporting and we're seeing Tony Vitello in Giants gear and we're seeing Luis Arraez in Giants gear. And we're seeing a lot of these new faces join the club as well as faces that look a bit more comfortable. Willy Adames looking even more comfortable with his team and with the team that has come to be a part of his career. So, I can compartmentalize. That's a big thing when it comes to my coverage and my fandom in general. That doesn't mean I'm happy with how the offseason went, but we're here now. The milk has been spilt. We can't continue to cry over it. Let's just see what the Giants do moving forward, and hopefully they're right. That's the thing. I'm not one of those people that would rather, I know there are people out there, there are fans out there that want the team that they root for to do bad if they didn't do, maybe not fully do bad, but if they didn't do what they wanted you to do, you want it to be right. I do not care about being right. If Tyler Mahle is in the Cy Young conversation or Adrian Hauser is in the Cy Young conversation, I will gladly say, man, I did not see this coming. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but you could see, or if Luis Arraez is up for a Gold Glove at second, I will gladly say I did not see this coming and I was dead wrong. I would rather say that as we are enjoying playoff baseball than see I was right. The Giants are barely 500 again and they didn't do anything and everything that they did was incorrect or wrong. That's just how I am. Everybody is different. I don't police fandom, but I can understand that you do want to be right at times because chances are you will be, right? But I'll say this, I don't think a lot of us saw Rafi Devers that deal coming. So you never know what the Giants are going to do. And I'll never forget Buster Posey, talking with Crook and Kipe during one of the games. And he said, this was something that we felt like the team earned. They earned the opportunity to go get a big bat and really go after it. Now, it didn't work out after that. But Buster showed in that moment that he's willing to, talk to ownership, talk to the powers that be, talk within the rest of the front office and make certain decisions based on how the season is going. So that is the one thing I think we can all feel good about that we've seen from Buster, whether it's in a good direction or bad direction. Look, things didn't go well. They move off of Camilo Doval and they kind of got a haul. We'll see how that works out for the Giants in the very, very end. But a lot of the players that you got back in that Camilo Doval trade, as well as Tyler Rogers, those guys have already looked as if they're going to be able to help the Giants in the near future. So whether it's a pivot in a good way for Rafi Devers or a pivot in a bad way for Camilo Doval, Tyler Rogers, because it didn't end up working out, they've shown that they are very dynamic and flexible with how they feel the season is going. So that's one thing. We will not be stuck with this roster throughout the full season, good or bad, right? If it's good, Buster's going to go out and try to do something and make it great. If it's not good, Buster's going to go out and say, well, we need to sell off some of these parts and try to get better for the future. And that has helped. Some of the guys that they brought in has helped the farm system and where the farm system has been ranked. So that's one thing that I think that we can take from Buster when it comes to the free agent and opening the wallet. Yeah, we would like to see more there, but when it comes to the trades, they have shown that they are very active regardless of the direction that the team is going in. They will react to that. So that's what Buster kind of had to say to kick things off. A lot of people weren't happy with it. A lot of people saying they're pretending as if this team is in a good spot, and it's not. I don't think they're pretending. I think this is just a decision that they made. Buster is not sitting here. That's the one thing about it. Buster's not sitting here telling us that Adrian Hauser is going to win the Cy Young. He's not telling us that Luis Arraez is going to be a Gold Glove. He's just telling us this is the decision that they made, and they think that it will be enough to be at that level of contention. I don't know. And now, again, the championship conversation that Buster brings up, I also feel like he's compartmentalizing. We want to be championship level, but I don't think we're going to get there in 1 year. And we didn't want to make a bunch of moves to put us in a bad spot financially or losing assets when we still probably wouldn't be there in that first season with Tony Vitello and his brand new coaching staff. Let's get to the other side. Buster speaks on why they chose to sign Luis Arraez and what that means for the young infielders on the Giants, or maybe floating around AAA and the big leagues. More Locked On Giants coming up. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed Sponsored Jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your posts, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certifications, and location. If I were hiring, I wouldn't just want someone who can help. I'd want someone with real experience who can jump right in. That's what I like about Indeed. You can get specific and target exactly what you need. It saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through mismatches. And with sponsored jobs, your post gets seen by candidates who are actually a fit. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Giants with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to LockedOnSFGiants@Supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. If you're a true diehard Giants fan, the Everydayer All Access tier is built for you. You'll get one-on-one text access with me, all access episodes, an exclusive newsletter, and a 15% discount to the Locked On merch store. Head to LockedOnSFGiants@Supercast.com to join the Everydayer Club and unlock all access. You can also find a link in the show notes. Second segment with you, and we have an article on Buster Posey explaining why they decided to go with Luis Arraez and what this means for the young infielders on the Giants. Also, of course, the question marks about Luis's glove. Buster answers some of it, maybe not all of it, but some of it. So this is from Alex Pavlovich. Because Luis Arraez met with the media after his 1-year contract with the Giants became official, he wasn't initially on the backfield when the other infielders went through drills for the first time. Until Arraez arrived, Casey Schmitt took the grounders at second base. Schmitt was the starter heading into the offseason, and given how many holes there were on the pitching side, it would have been very easy for the Giants to stick with that plan. The 26-year-old has shown flashes at the plate in recent years and slimmed down a bit this winter to be more agile at second base, but Buster Posey and the rest of the front office spent all winter chasing middle infielders. Brendan Donovan was a target early in the offseason, and the Giants were also connected to Nico Horner and C.J. Abrams in recent weeks before signing Arraez. After the deal became official, Posey explained why he felt it was necessary to seek out a new second baseman. Quote, Casey did make some strides last year. Cost the same thing. He made some big strides, Posey said. Adding a guy like Arraez, I think, is an opportunity for a guy like Casey and a guy like Cost to learn from as well as they continue their development. And then it just gives us another layer of depth in our infield to have Arraez, and then Casey can be the guy that plays multiple positions. Same thing with Cost. Schmitt got 193 plate appearances at second base last year, and Cost took 137. The team leader was actually Tyler Fitzgerald, who started the season at second base after a breakout 2024, but struggled at the plate. Posey said he has heard good things about the way Fitzgerald has been swinging the bat in recent workouts, and Fitzgerald said he feels much better than he did a year ago. we'll get some looks at him in the infield and potentially in the outfield as well, and just see if some of that versatility will again add another layer of depth, Posey said, talking about Tyler Fitzgerald. For all three young infielders, versatility will be crucial. The roster won't be as flexible if Bryce Eldridge wins a first base DH job alongside Rafael Devers, and the need for speed and defensive versatility will be even greater if Gerard Encarnacion wins an outfield job. At least one of the backup infielders may also have to serve as an occasional outfielder. Fitzgerald has big league experience in the outfield, and Koss got rips there in winter ball a year ago. Both can also play all over the infield, and Schmitt is comfortable at all four spots after picking up first base early last season in an effort to get more at-bats against left-handed pitching. While the Giants won't need him to give Devers a day off after a tough lefty anytime soon, Schmitt could still see plenty of plate appearances by moving around. It's not what he expected heading into the offseason, but the front office felt strongly that adding at second base would make the entire roster more dangerous. Quote, depending on the matchup, if we feel like it's a good matchup for him to get in there and be in the lineup, we could insert him at different spots, Posey said of Schmitt. Obviously, the DH could be open in some games. Maybe somebody else is DHing and he's playing in the field. I think the main thing that's interesting to me about this whole conversation is the outfield piece, right? You're talking about, you already added Harrison Bader, and I know Harrison Bader tends to miss a decent amount of time, but you added Harrison Bader. You still have Elliot Ramos. You still, as of right now, have Luis Matos. You still have Drew Gilbert. You added, of course, you are moving Jung-Hoo Lee to right field. So I'm kind of confused why we are talking about Casey Schmitt and Christian Koss and Tyler Fitzgerald all in the outfield. I mean, I get it. If it's all about hitting, those guys have shown more with the bat than some of the names that are actually outfielders. Grant McCray, another name as well. But I'm a bit confused why we are having, didn't we just talk about Bryce Eldridge in the outfield, possibly too? I'm very confused as to, I guess, the conversation of depth, but yeah, there are a lot of games in a season, but I don't see where all these guys are going to fit in, barring injury to some of the typical names. So that's a bit confusing to me. As far as the Luis Arraez piece, I mean, Buster didn't really speak to the fact that, he could end up being a questionable defender, but maybe it's because he's not questionable yet. And Buster's thinking, I'm just not going to talk about it until I have to. So the idea that they're bringing in Luis Arraez to play second and he's going to, be the guy to start, obviously that bat is the main reason he's in the lineup. Yeah, that gives a bit of a head scratcher to the future of some of these guys. I mean, 26 isn't old, don't get me wrong, but whenever you start talking about learning from someone when you're getting closer to those prime years, if you will, that always can come off, I don't want to say disingenuous, but okay, that's not necessarily the situation here. I'll never forget, there was an Astros scout, right? I was playing in a league and I had a good season, and he was famous for drafting, I think it was Jimmy Rollins back in the day. And, he would come to a lot of games. We really didn't know how much pull he had, but we had a end of season banquet. He would always be with the team. And he came up to my dad and he said, hey, your son is going to be a great prospect one day. That's what he said. My dad looked at him with a straight face and said, he's 22 years old. He's 22 years old. If you're not going to make, a decision now on adding him, to the farm system, it ain't going to happen. There's not a situation where he's this young and up and comer. He's 22 years old. So Casey Schmitt, 26 is not old, but learning behind somebody who's a questionable defender, maybe he can learn from Luis Arraez at the plate. But learning from Luis Arraez as a defender, Casey Schmitt might be coming in to replace Luis Arraez in later innings. So I don't really buy that one from Buster. Maybe he just means as a professional in general, and Casey Schmitt at this point in time is no longer a second baseman. He's a utility infielder. So maybe it's not about learning from Luis Arraez, but just learning from all of the vets that are already on the team in Matt Chapman and, Willie Adames, Devers, he's learning at first base too. So, really it's just Matt Chapman. That's who you're going to learn from if you are Casey Schmitt, right? And Willie Adames as well. So I thought those kind of notes were a little funny from Buster. It is what it is. They needed to get more hitting, and I think the reality is if you look at the farm system, I don't know how far in the future Buster sees Casey Schmitt and Christian Koss and Tyler Fitzgerald, right? That's just the elephant in the room that they can't really say. I think they are utility guys on this iteration of the Giants. And when those younger guys are ready to go, maybe you move off of Casey Schmitt for pitching depth or whatever it is. But I don't think Buster sees any of those guys in the long-term future for the Giants, and that's okay. That's just what happens. They're going to be utility guys on these Giants teams, and we'll see what happens after that. One more segment with you. Let's discuss what Tony Vitello had to say in his first kind of media scrum of spring training. More Locked On Giants coming up. The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you can only see on the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about the most. FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of curling matches that start slow and somehow get intense fast, speed skating races decided by inches, hockey games that feel different right from opening face-off. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Last segment with you, and Tony Vitello spoke with the media yesterday, and he kind of just gave a lay of the land based on what they're thinking. There weren't a lot of detailed pieces in what he was saying. It was more of an overview. He said that after, the first workout, a lot of the coaches wanted to speak with the team. Message spoke with the team. Ron Washington spoke with the team. A couple guys wanted to, just make their presence known and get everybody on one accord and on one page. So that's basically what Vitello was talking about. He did get asked about the difference between, college ball and pros as far as the season. And one thing he did honestly stand on business about was the fact that, yeah, it's a much longer season with the pro ranks in Major League Baseball. But, he didn't say it in so many words, but he basically said, I don't know that you guys realize how intense college baseball also is because of the recruiting piece of it, right? So obviously you have obligations when it comes to Major League Baseball, but you don't have to handle that piece of it. You're not the GM. You're not the president of baseball operations. The season ends and things are a little bit different in what your obligations are. But in college, he mentioned how, they've already gone through their spring training and you're basically going hard until about August. And August things cool off, but then you get fall ball starting back, and that's in about October when school comes back into session. So the whole thing starts back again. So he was basically arguing or making the point that, yeah, obviously college is not Major League Baseball, but the time spent isn't as different as maybe a lot of people think off the top of their head. So I thought that was, really cool. He mentioned how a lot of people think that he has ill will or hate the opponent. But he said, when it comes to the coaches in those other dugouts, I respect them because we understand the grind that we're going through. He also said that everybody on the team has at least gotten a text message from him, maybe even more. Obviously, he was overseas with Jung-Hoo Lee and Willie Adames, but at the very least, they've gotten a text message from them. And he was also asked about the intensity piece, all the hits, right? The media members, they played all the hits. Hey, you're an intense guy. Do you think you'll be able to do that for the duration of a Major League Baseball season? And he said, well, if I can, I'll retire. He said, I feel like I'll be able to do that, but if I can't, I'll retire. So he said that, and I thought that was, the right thing to say, and he's probably tired of hearing that question, to be completely honest with you. So it was very high level. I imagine things will get more detailed as we move forward here when it comes to the roster. He's the type of guy that's just going to say, hey, we're going to play the guys that we have and go from there. But we're so early in this process with them trying to establish who he is, where this team is going to go, who this team is going to be. I thought it was nice for him to just sit down, and people just love hearing this guy talk. I saw somebody mention that it seems like Buster Posey really likes hearing him talk, which is very important and probably a huge reason why he got the gig and why he got the job. But pretty soon here, we're going to start to see who he's going to be as a manager. He did mention when it comes to the, I guess, tinfoil hat conspiracy theory as to why they took so long to announce the coaching staff. He actually addressed that and he said it took a long time because we really wanted to get it right and we wanted to surround me with, guys that really know what they're talking about, guys that have been around that can help in areas where I might have blind spots. And he said he's always tried to do that at every level he's at. It feels like he is the opposite. Have you ever heard that term, being the smartest person in the room? It feels like he is the complete opposite. Not that he's not the smartest person in the room, but that he does not want to be the smartest person in the room. And you ever heard that that term that goes along with that says, if you are the smartest person in a room, you need to move to a different room because you want to always be trying to improve on who you are at whatever level that is. If you're a lawyer, if you're a doctor, if you're a baseball coach, if you're a football coach, if you're a cheerleading coach, whatever it is, right? If you work in nonprofits, if you're a garbage man, you don't want to be the smartest person in whatever room you're in. Right? You want to make sure that you're always learning. And that's something that I think Tony Vitello has made very apparent. That's something that they want to kind of continue to hit on. And that's why it took a little bit longer when it was time for them to come up with a coaching staff, because they wanted to make sure that Tony felt supported. And they were acknowledging the fact that there are going to be some blind spots early. And the best way to make sure that the blind spots don't end up hindering you as you get into the season is by having guys around, whether that be Dusty, Bruce Bochy, or literally in that dugout to help alleviate some of those concerns. So great stuff. First day in the books. I mean, second day in the books now. By the time you are going to be watching and listening to this podcast, this show. So let's just see what happens. Now we start to micro analyze every single thing that happens. I saw Luis Arraez taking some ground balls. He caught him. Right? So we caught him. That's good. That's a good start. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Thank you for watching Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at @_Styles Files, Styles with an I. If you never miss an episode, then the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Giants ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to Locked On SFGiants on Supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On MLB. We will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.